Good evening. I'd like to call this Wednesday, February 12th, 2025 meeting of the City of Manassas Park Planning Commission to order. The time is 7 p.m. My name is Lester Finkel. Sitting this evening are Michael Beckett's, John Evans, Kevin Petak, and I'd like to welcome aboard Michael Carrera, a governing body member, and also Planning Commission Commissioner. Thank you very much for joining us. You're very welcome. At this time, Commissioner Beckett's, please lead us in the moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next agenda item is actually approval of the agenda. I don't have any changes for the agenda.
So moved.
Motion, second.
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We have adoption of the minutes from our December 11th, 2024 meeting. I don't have any changes to offer. Don't see any others either. I'll ask for a motion to adopt the meeting minutes as is.
So moved.
Motion and
Second.
second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstention.
Motion carries with 4 votes for and 1 abstention. I don't see any members of the public present. Okay, thank you. Our main agenda item for this evening is the opening presentation for fiscal year 2026 to fiscal year 2030 Capital Improvement Program. At this time, I will turn it over to our city administrator, Steve. Carl, you're on.
Do I have to drive anything here, or is it going to happen automatically?
You have to kind of sweep it over. Open it up. And then.
It's a very messy desktop.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff.
Is this going to show on there?
It should, they mirror it. And sometimes you have to go with it.
I don't know where the presentation is.
Then you can go to your, we can always.
Well, I can get it off here. I apologize.
Oh my God, do
It's my first go. It's my first try. You're going to be kind to me. It's today the 11th.
You're doing fine.
And I PDF did.
That's okay. It can be PDF. Drag it where? Oh, fun. Okay, I got you.
Now I can't see it, and it drives me
I can
nuts.
see it.
Okay.
Voila. All right, thank you. As mentioned, my name is Carl Cole. I'm the city manager. Tomorrow will be my 1 month mark here with the city. It's actually my first presentation in any form since I've been here. So
Welcome. We're pleased to have you.
Thank you.
Your first presentation.
I'm just saying, be kind. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So the CIP process is one that there's pretty much an immediate sort of analysis done and a short-term analysis, and then actually we go out 10 years in some cases. In some cases, you need to go out almost 30 years. So there's a bit of science the closer you are to today, and the farther out you get, it gets to be a lot more like art. And so what we're going to talk today is we're required to have a balanced 5-year plan. We're going to talk about that plan a little bit today. We have 3 funds, which we'll talk about, which are independent of one another. Of course, the general fund can be used to supplement funds in the other funds if we want, but we tend not to try to do that. But the way I look at CIP is the most important thing for a city is to be able to operate, provide the general services that the city needs to be able to provide the public safety and safe roads and that sort of thing to the residents. And so operating budget is the most important thing for the general city services. The next most important thing is the required CIP things. And by required, I mean either there's some higher authority that says we have to do this, or it's dangerous if we don't do this. So there's some liability or some risk to the city if we don't do it. And so after we get past those 2 categories, and then we get into the stuff where it's a little more discretionary. I understand, and I'm going to keep saying we because I feel like I'm part of the team now, even though I wasn't here when all this stuff happened. But we suffered through some lean times in the last decade, and so we're had to defer some projects and some things off that probably you shouldn't have. I mean, but you didn't really have a choice unless you're going to tax people to the point that left the city, and then you're in the same situation. So we have some makeups that need to be done here, but we're in a position now that's much better thanks to the decisions that have been made before I got here. And so I'm going to recommend to you a plan today that is, I think, a reasonable 5-year plan that is based on projections of revenue that they're projections. We don't know how it's going to be. Could be better, could be worse. And so there'll be adjustments as we move along depending on how those things happen. We also have some economic development things happening in the city that could change our forecast after fiscal year 26, 27, 28, 29, that could significantly impact the projects and the scope of things you can do. But until we get there, we won't know. So here's my best stab at what we got. Go. Oops. Okay, so this is a little bit overview. I probably jumped the gun on a couple of these things, but again, so we'll talk about the 5-year model in those 3 funds. We have the general fund, and then we have water and sewer, and then we have stormwater, which I'm used to calling surface water. So if I say stormwater, that's what I mean. Or if I say surface water, it means stormwater. So we'll talk about those departments. I will say that this was probably 15 hours of presentation to me from the various departments, maybe a little more than that. I didn't think you guys wanted to hear 15 hours worth of this, so we've condensed it down into,
Thank you for that.
into sort of the high-level overview, but included in the presentation for you and for the public is all of the presentation material that I was presented with. So if you want to dig into it, it's all in there. I'm not going to spend time on that tonight. All right, so we talked about that. So first fund we're going to talk about is the general fund. As you can see, we're talking about transportation, police, fire, community development, parks and rec, schools, and then admin and general services. So we're looking at, over the course of the 5 years, somewhere in the neighborhood of $163, $164 million. But you have to remember that a lot of that is transportation. That's our most expensive thing, especially on an ongoing basis. If we decide to build something like a city hall or a school, then that will, for a period of time, go above transportation. But on, as a general rule, transportation is where we spend most of the money on this. And I'll talk about that a little more later. I do want to note that school security and the debt service is part of the admin and general services line. So some of the stuff that has gone before, some of it as long ago as 20 years ago, we're still paying for, and that's accounted for there. Like I said, a little about just over 163, almost $164 million over 5 years. That's the breakdown. 41% for transportation, like I said, and then on down to debt service and other overhead. And elections is thrown in that administrative category as well. Big chunk is for our vehicles. That includes everything from police cars to snowplows, Vector trucks, all those things, fire trucks. I have never had a fire department before, so this is fun for me and new, but those things are expensive, man. So the non-transportation general fund CIP, this is broken out because we have been very successful at getting other people to pay for our transportation projects. So it's useful to break this out because in reality, if we didn't get some of that grant money and some of that other federal and state money, we probably wouldn't do many of the transportation projects that we're doing. So those funds that we pursue for that are only for that. It's not like we're taking grants and paying for something else. We're getting grants for transportation projects and applying them appropriately to transportation projects. And this has been a great a benefit to the city. I hear it's all attributable to just a couple people and their work, but I haven't been able to prove that yet, so I'm not going to call them out in public. So. But just for the sense of comparison, taking transportation out is useful because that's not coming largely out of the tax base. Again, this is my first presentation. Now I'm learning that I'm going to have it up here too so I can see some of the smaller numbers, but that's how it's broken out. This is water and sewer. We have some debt for EOSA, just some of the water treatment stuff as they maintain and have expanded the plant over the years. Same thing with the water system. The capital maintenance for repair, replace, upgrades for water. I do say this is a pretty conservative estimate. I think I've been here, like I said, I've been here a month tomorrow. And I think we've had 6 water main breaks since I've been here. So I'm also told that this is an unusual winter for Virginia. I'm starting to think somebody was baiting and switching me a little bit, but and hopefully that's the case. But I was talking to the superintendent Wayne. He said that they're digging up, they're digging into broken water mains and finding 3 or 4 clamps from previous breaks in the same location. So I'm just saying that's a ticking time bomb to some extent. And while we've deferred a lot of that stuff down the road, that's going to come due at some point. We're going to have to really make some allowances for that. I think there probably are some grant opportunities there as well. We just haven't had the capacity to pursue those up until now, but I'm going to look at that as we move forward as a way to speed up some of that capital stuff in the water system. So otherwise, it's self-explanatory there: equipment, vehicles, IT stuff. You can't skimp on that. You've probably seen all of the ransomware attacks and the various breaches that have occurred here and there. We've got to make sure Don has all the tools he needs to keep us from having that happen to us. So, and that typically means more frequent upgrades than you would think from these sorts of things. So, or more than you do for your own system at home. So, did I go the right way? No, I did not. Okay. Okay. So, not counting debt payments. We spent about $206 million in capital expenditures, of course, across all funds over the next 5 years. So the previous one was just the general fund. This is now water and sewer as well as stormwater. You'll notice the emphasis that 80% of the CIP is for transportation, schools, and for public safety. So that's just the plan for now. Again, if the situation improves, we may add some things to it, and if it doesn't, then we may have to scale back. So. Oops. Very touchy. Yeah, this is basically the same information again. I get confused because the title of the slides don't differentiate between the different funds, but again, makes sense to take transportation out of the equation because most of that is funded by external sources. So. That's basically it. Again, there's just those 3 funds. We don't have billions of dollars to do a whole bunch of projects. The directors came at us very conservatively in their requests, understanding the situation and hoping for an outlook that improves over the next couple of years. And I think it will. But for now, this is something I think we can afford as we move into the operational side of the budget, which again is where we pay our people and keep the lights on and that sort of thing. That again may change depending on how that comes out. But that's my presentation for now. If you have any questions, let me know. The department heads are here. If you want to dig into any of the projects, like I said, we've got them all here, and we're happy to go to whatever page you'd like to look at if you want to dig into anything in particular. So,
Are
Quick
there
and
any-
easy.
Are there any initial questions? Commissioner Petek?
Yes, on the water and sewer, what type of pipe does the city generally have?
Okay, and Calvin's gonna back me up on this. Oh, he's gonna come up and talk. But let me take a stab to see if I paid attention. So a lot of the existing infrastructure is cast iron, and over 50 years old. And that's, yeah, okay. And it was not designed to last that long, and it needs to be replaced with much more modern, polymers and whatever they use that last for a lot longer and can take more pressure than ours can, so. But it's old infrastructure made with, which was state of the art at the time, but not anymore, so.
And how many miles of pipe do we have? Ballpark.
It's breaking out the calculator. A lot. You figure as many miles as we have streets plus.
Yeah. So, yeah, and generally, what percent are we replacing per year? That's where I was going at with that question.
Okay, so I can send you the miles. It's actually in a presentation that I just did for the new city manager here. But we have that somewhere written down how many, at least by GIS, how many linear feet of pipe are installed in the city. It's not a per year thing. What the mode we're currently operating under is we have areas with higher break rates. Right, areas of the city where we know, as Mr. Cole was alluding to, we go down, we dig a break, we might dig the pit and see another clamp there, maybe 2 clamps there. We've been there before. This section of pipe is really vulnerable. Usually it's because it was poorly bedded when it was installed. Today, when you were going to bed new water pipe, we'd use ductile iron, something that's been annealed and strengthened, and it would be laid in a bed of stone dust or 21A so that there's no large rocks or anything anywhere near it. Gives it, the ability to shift in place. A lot of the ductile iron or the cast iron pipe that was installed in the 50s in the older part of the city will dig down. The pipe will be broken at the bottom. It'll just be laying on a giant rock. They dug down until they were at depth, didn't matter what was in the pit, they placed the pipe there, covered it back up. A lot of times they used backfill that was big rocks. All of those older practices, we don't do that anymore. We wouldn't even let your contractor, if you were replacing your sewer lateral in your front yard, use those practices. So we bed the pipe better. What we find a lot is that it's an area where there's a lot of rock, the pipe was bedded directly on the rock, and as the pipe shifts, as the ground shifts, it ruptures the pipe on the rock. So in those high break rate areas, that's where we focus these repair projects. I have areas, older areas in the city, or the old section of the city, that we've never been into for a break. Still distributes the water just fine. It's cast iron, it's not causing any health issues. The cost-benefit analysis wouldn't be there to spend millions of dollars to excavate it up and replace it. So we focus right now on the high break rate areas where we're higher than the national average and where we're spending a lot of money going in and fixing them year after year.
Is there a glide path here where eventually we get to, a lessening of the problems and we can see this dollar expenditure go down at some point, or are we far away from that, that period of time? What would you say about that?
Well, I think right now, if you look at the Phase 6, Phase 7, Phase 8 water system improvement projects, we're hitting some of the higher break rate areas that we know to exist right now. We're not even sure that Phase 9 and Phase 10 will be best focused on these water line replacement projects. There's secondary benefits to these water line replacement projects, like upsizing them from 6-inch to 8-inch, placing hydrants more closely, which eventually brings us closer to a goal of a better score on our ISO survey, things like that. But we're not even quite sure at this point that Phase 9 and 10 water system improvements will be these types of water line replacement projects. What we're looking at all the time is our loss rates, and we're always looking for better tools to judge our water loss rates. As long as our loss rates are going down and they're within the national average, you really wouldn't want to spend $5–10 million a year replacing water lines. Water, a little bit of water loss doesn't cost us that, so the cost-benefit analysis wouldn't show that we should get in there and replace all the lines. But when we have these high break rate areas, yeah, we're still focused on these high break rate area replacements, and we'll have to see as we get these projects accomplished, phase 6, phase 7, phase 8, if phase 9 and phase 10 need to be focused on newer high break rate areas of the city, or if we can move on to things like revamping old pump stations to give us backup water flow, or maybe looking at abandoning or building a new tank somewhere. But for right now, we know that 6, 7, and 8 are gonna be focused on these line replacement projects, and we'll have to see what the break rate, or what our water loss rates are at that point, to see if it's still beneficial to continue replacing underground pipe.
Thank you.
The questions? Commissioner Beckett's?
Question. Could you talk about sort of the breakdown of sort of state, federal, and local funding? And given the current political environment that we're in and the uncertainty at the federal level, sort of what are some of the contingency plans that you might have if federal dollars sort of dry up for like transportation projects? And if the state is no longer able to issue grants because of a redistribution of state dollars to other projects?
Yeah, that's a great question that I'd love to answer at the next Planning Commission meeting. We just started analyzing that. We're fairly certain, we've talked to to Merchant McIntyre, our grant pursuer, that most of the things, like 99% of things, we're pretty sure have no vulnerability. There's a couple of projects that may, just depending on interpretation, but the problem is once a rule is made at the executive level, then it has to go down to the department for rulemaking and for actually applying what it is. That hasn't happened yet, so we don't know what that's going to have, if it's going to have any impact on us. But I will say that early analysis is it's not going to have much. So,
Thank you.
yep.
Other questions? Commissioner Petek?
Yes, following on Commissioner Beckett's question, I know there's a couple larger projects in here, I believe one of the school projects and the fire department. And is there any possibility of getting grants for those larger projects? And if so, where are we on seeking those grants?
Yeah, again, we just met with Merchant McIntyre today and to talk about vulnerabilities, but also to start the process of prioritizing their efforts. So there's basically a grant opportunity for almost everything that we have on our list. But you don't get them all, right? You have to decide which ones do you want to pursue. And so we're in the process of prioritizing those right now. And so, like for the fire station, we're going to get a grant for the whole fire station. But we might get a grant for part of the fire station, and so we have to weigh that out over, maybe we will get a full grant for something to do with the schools, to try to figure out where we're going to get the biggest return on the overall process. And again, that's still separate from transportation, because transportation grants are almost always exclusively, you can only use them for transportation projects. So, but on the other pieces, we're in the process of prioritizing now and seeing what our Merchant McIntyre can go after for us at the federal level, but we're not done with that work yet.
Thank you.
Other questions? I just wanted to see, are there any highlights from any of the sections? We don't have to spend a great deal of time on it, but if there was anything from last year's CIP to this year's CIP where there are certain new highlights that may be from any given section, if we take a few minutes, if we can just have those highlighted for us, I'd be appreciative for that.
Yeah, I can't think of any because I didn't
Okay.
see the last presentation, and
Okay.
and when Tony and I were putting this together, she said there are some 90% of this is going to be something I saw last year. I don't know what that 10% is.
Okay.
I will tell you, as I have looked at this, though, I see some areas that I am going to dive into pretty deep, like the fleet. I'm not sure the process that we're using right now is going to be the best return on investment over time. There's a built-in, I think, 3.5% profit for enterprise as the years go on, and that gets pretty sweet for them over time, not very sweet for us. And so I have Mark working on analysis now to figure out where that break point is and if we need to start buying cars rather than leasing them down the road. So, but for me, that out of this entire process, that's the thing I got most excited about was, okay, we need to make sure we're not throwing good money after bad on the fleet, so.
And we're appreciative for the line item for the comprehensive plan update.
Absolutely.
And I think we're all looking forward to having that not only updated, but then be able to apply that in future years to the CIP as it comes before us. So I know I'm personally excited. I don't want to speak for the other commissioners, but it will be an opportunity for us to be able to really take the updated comprehensive plan and compare it to the CIP and actually give you our feedback related to that down the road once we have it updated. So we do appreciate that effort that the city has put behind that effort.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. I think that's going to be one of the most important things we do. It's really hard to look down the road 30 years.
Yes.
I mean, to me,
Sure.
what do they say, 1955 is just as far away from 1980 as today is? And
Yes.
I wasn't even born in 1955. So, even following up on what Calvin said, some of that replacement of some of the infrastructure is going to happen naturally through the course of redevelopment.
Sure.
So some of this stuff we don't have to worry about because it's not failing now, but if we end up redeveloping parts of the city, or not us, or we create an environment that developers do that, then part of that deal, they'll have to upgrade the infrastructure. So that's really where the comprehensive plan is so important. And a lot of organizations give it sort of a quick wave, and I live by it. I think we have to have a plan, we have to have sub-plans, we have to have a budget,
Sure.
and that reflects the priorities of the community. And I agree with you. I'm really excited to see that work done, and I think it provides a roadmap for
Yes.
the place long after we're
Correct.
here involved. Yeah, so.
And with the housing aspect to it as well, not only
Absolutely.
with what we're going through, but then our neighbors, as they're going through what they're going through with housing, that's another component of that update and upgrade of the comprehensive plan that will be an excellent part for us to be able to compare to moving forward as well.
Absolutely, because I think one of the things that's going to happen is we're going to overbuild.
Yes.
Because
Yep.
the population indicators are that the population may start going down. So
Yes.
we don't want to have a bunch of vacant, blighted areas either. So there's going to have to be a balance, and that's why you plan. So.
The knee-jerk reactions get
Yep.
us into trouble
Yeah.
with that kind
These
of thing.
knee-jerk 10-year reactions.
Yeah,
exactly.
true.
Yeah. Yep.
Very good. Good. Well, if that's, because the CIP was looking just similar to last year, and if nothing was jumping out as, we're highlighting this part, then that's great. We will have next month any changes to what you have here for it, and then in April, we'll do our normal recommendation to the governing body. So we'll look forward to if there are any changes between this month and next month at our next meeting, that could be highlighted at that meeting.
Absolutely, and I will say, I apologize for the technological issues. Even with Councilmember Carrera, it said, his email said my email was spam, so, well, we're on the same domain, but it's a lot of information, and I
Yes.
offer that if you do sit down with it and go through it more at a later date, please call me, send me an email. I'm happy to chat about this in detail, or get my experts on the line to be able to answer your questions, so.
Good.
All right, thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. You can, yep, you're good. Very good. So at this point, we have no unfinished business, no report of special committees, and informational update from community development staff. Commissioner Barry, Administrator Barry, sorry.
Thank you. I just have 2 items. Wanted to let the commission know that we did receive the rezoning for the vacant parcels on Digital Drive and Manassas Drive at that corner. The proposal is for 86 townhouses. Not stacked, but fee simple, if you will, owning the property underneath. So that has been distributed, and we're going to go through the comments. So it'll take a few months, but you will be seeing that development before you,
Okay.
certainly in 2025.
Wow.
And also, I wanted to let you know that we did hire a new code enforcement officer, and she started a few weeks ago. Her first name is Eva, and I'm not going to say her last name because I will completely butcher it. But we're happy to have her, and looking forward to investing her not only in the code enforcement, but also assisting us with the comp plan update. And my goal, and I anticipate that going out to the street either late February or early March. So we'll get that underway. I anticipate we're going to have another land use application as well for rezoning. So we will be pretty busy this year. So looking forward to your advice and recommendations. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Did you want me to say anything right now, or you wanted me to wait on that between the multiple commissions? Did you want me to just bring that up as just to give the commissioners a chance to know that this may be coming down the pike, or shall I just wait until there's more information?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, I think you should wait till there's more information.
Okay, good. No, I appreciate it. I just wanted to double check. Any questions for Administrator Barry?
Quick question. For Park Central, would the Planning Commission be expecting any sort of work associated with building in Park Central, like the movie theater or whatever that might be happening this year?
Well, there will be a site plan for the theater,
Mm-hmm.
so that will come before you.
Other questions? Thank you. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion, second.
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The time is 7:32.